We are back, and it's all right, folks, and it's sunny out, and I think Mr. Matt Moore, who's been my guest, patiently answering methodically all of these questions thrown at him in the gauntlet of the Tom Anderson Show, ha-ha. I think I'm going to get these guys out in the sun here in a few more minutes, and my hunch is you've got more meetings and more forums, and I bet you're just busy as heck running for Congress, aren't you?
Starting to get that way.
Yeah,
dance card's filling up.
No doubt. Well, I'm gonna do the quick rapid fire questions. What do you think of Deepwater Port development? Meade Treadwell, the Lieutenant Governor, is pressing that. I was at Rotary a couple weeks ago, and he gave a very good presentation saying that we need that so that these ships don't have to go around and they can stop and they don't use Canadian facilities.
Absolutely need it.
Yeah,
back in the day when I was working in an oil field, I worked on a drill ship in the Beaufort Sea. It was called the Culloch. It's actually coming back up, renamed, brand new. That's what Shell's dragging up here.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Now, Lisa McGuire, Senator, we've had her on, know her well. She has been a proponent, and others have, about icebreakers and at least funding one so that it can help, especially with the Coast Guard now up in Barrow and with in the Chukchi, and you know this better than I, but with Shell up there, I would assume you're supportive of that too, within reason. I don't think you want 50 of them, but I mean, you do think we need another one.
We have to. I know when I was up there on that one particular drilling rig, we had 2 that patrolled around all the time, and still that wasn't enough. There were times when we had pressure ridges that came through that were 30 feet thick that they couldn't handle, they couldn't break, and we actually had to pop our moorings and go and just basically float around it and then come back, get back on location.
I can't even imagine. I've never been up there, but that is deep.
Well, you can't really fathom the thickness of it, but when you see them start breaking ice, it's like 10 feet, 8 feet thick, and you see these big chunks just tumbling in the water, and you go, man. And then there are birds that are trying to get in and get krill and little shrimp and other crustaceans. They don't know what they're risking. No.
But Drew Barrymore does. Isn't that, I don't know if you know the reference, but she was the actress, remember, and what was it, at Sand Lake?
Yeah.
They had her jumping in, and that was supposed to be the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah, for her saving the gray whale.
I laugh at that. That is funny. I mean, if you're Alaskan. Now, you said on the break, and I made some Cajun praline jokes, you are from Louisiana.
Yes.
And so I hope Dan Fagan's endorsing you. Isn't he from Louisiana? Have you been on his show yet on
No,
TV?
I haven't been on a show yet, not a guest yet. No.
We have a thing called a cough drop in here, and I'm looking at Chris. I think that's Dan's, and he's been on radio for years, and that's for, I guess, for my mic, and I can push it if I have to cough. But every time I look down at that, I think of Dan Fagan because he was on our show, not our show, but a question. I'll just get into him. What's your thought on death penalty?
Well, I'm actually against the death penalty. There was a time when I was younger where I thought it was okay. And there was a period in my life when actually I went and saw a play. It was called Exonerated, and it laid out how someone was railroaded into prison and how the prosecution either withheld evidence or manufactured evidence to have someone come up with a guilty verdict. And my idea is that when you're thinking about a penalty that's that severe, you better be 100% sure there can be no doubt in your mind. And we're a civilized society, and we shouldn't even be going there. And people are saying, well, you've got to think about the cost of incarcerating people. It's like, you do, but you also have to balance that against the cost of releasing them to society or the cost of actually putting them to death and how that's going to affect the people that had to do it.
I had one gentleman talk to me the other day about it, and he said the very same reasoning you said, and he also said, I would be supportive if we were absolutely unequivocally for sure that the person did it if it was immediate, like within the first 18 months, but it never is. He says it goes on and on and on because of the appellate structure, which some embrace and others don't. But so there are a lot of different reasons. I'm against it too. Right to life, pro-choice. Before you answer, my hunch is you don't celebrate an abortion, whichever side you're on.
No.
I mean, most people don't, and they're ludicrous to even remotely say that. But where do you stand on a woman's right to choose, which is legal now based on Roe versus Wade?
It is their right to choose, and it's that simple. And then the other side of the coin is you can dictate to somebody that they have no choice. And so one of the things that I always get a big laugh out of, we say the folks that are Republicans, they say, well, we need to have more rights. It's like, well, there's one right there.
What about people I will say sometimes candidates, sometimes voters, the pundits that cry the loudest, especially on radio shows, not on mine, but on some. I listen to other shows, other stations, admittedly, and you get the same weird people, and I don't even think I hope, listen to mine. I hope they don't, because they call every single day, and I thank God we don't have people like that on my show, because I wouldn't want to feel that every single day, and it's ding-dongy type questions. And some of those folks of that ilk often say that you must be a rigid constructionist, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat. And with that, it means whether it's pro-life or anti-gay marriage or all these, it sounds like in your answers you give some thoughtful analysis to it, and you're not dogmatic, or I won't say that you're not vehement, but I mean you're not extreme on any. Would you agree that that's you, that you're always willing to listen? You're against the death penalty, but it doesn't mean that you won't listen to an argument to say this guy guaranteed did it and we can expedite it. Your mind is always open as a policymaker?
Yes, and I think that probably started before I was even like on the president of my community council. One of the things I had in mind then was I said, well, I don't want this to be a political position. I don't want to fracture the neighborhood as a unit. I want to be able to bring us together, and it's not like a kumbaya moment where I break out the 6-string guitar, but for something like abortion, that's a person's choice. It's a very personal choice for a woman to make. She's going to have, I'm sure, some degree of guilt, some remorse, whichever way she goes. And abortion is not something that's meant as a form of birth control where you go do this every month. I don't think anyone would ever think that, and I wouldn't want them to come away with that impression from what I've said. But for some people, it may be their choice. And when you don't have something like a Plan B pill that's approved, that's allowed for someone to use, that's what you're going to come up with. That'll be your next choice. Because
of his record and because of his, NRA members would say, stellar support and embracing of National Rifle Association bylaws, policies. Mm-hmm. Don, I presume Congressman Young will get that endorsement.
Right.
What are your thoughts on guns? And I mean, do you own a gun, or have you ever shot or hunted? Are you into that at all? And even if you're not, I mean, are you supportive of people to have the right to bear arms? Obviously, that's constitutional, so I doubt you'd say no. But I mean, we live in Alaska. What's your thought on that? On just guns and NRA?
Well, I'm a lifetime member of the NRA, have been for 20 years. You've got to remember
I didn't know that, actually.
Where I grew up. I grew up in Louisiana. So if we went outside, we didn't go outside to hike. We went outside to hunt or fish. And we didn't have REI stores or anything like that, so we didn't get all geared up. But that was really the vehicle that got us outdoors. And so, yes, I've hunted since I was probably 12 years old.
I didn't know. By the way, that wasn't a baited question. I've never even met you, so
no.
I didn't look at your resume, so I didn't know you were a member.
No, I'm also a life member of the Safari Club. I've hunted over.
I love the Safari Club.
Hunted over in Africa a couple of times, and I've actually put a couple of animals in the record books. And somebody goes, "Wow, how'd you do it?" And I was like, "I had nothing to do with the way that animal grew. I was in the right place at the right time, and I just kept it together."
Oh, so you are a hunter. I did not know that. You must have been like, "Yes, what a good question." Now, Anwar, we're running out of time. What are your thoughts on Anwar? Of course, Begich and Murkowski and Young have been, had that trifecta trying to get it open. Will you advocate for that at a congressional level?
I will. And there's part of me that says, I would love to have a piece of this earth that is unspoiled, period. And when you look at Anwar, there's a portion of it that was set aside for drilling. And when I think about all the technological advances that we've had in drilling, back when I came up here, we were just hitting our stride on horizontal drilling. And it was wonderful. I probably sat on 30, 40 horizontal wells. And that is really not the thing that bothers me over there. It's going to be the folks that are going to be the support teams, the folks that are the contractors, where they're going to stage their equipment, how are they going to get out there and have the smallest impact that they can.
The smallest imprint. They say that it's a quarter on a football field in terms of the imprint, but your point is there's sometimes superfluous and extra.
If you think about it as a support team, when you have somebody that comes in that has to log a well, or somebody that's running casing, or somebody that's coming in and cementing afterwards, all those people are going to come in. It's like you're going to have to be able to have a good plan in place and stick with it.
No, that's prudent. And we're getting signal. You have 1 minute, Matt Moore, and then we'll let it be, and people can certainly call you. First of all, in your closing, how do people get a hold of you if they have a question or want to contribute or ask you?
I surprisingly have a high-tech website. It's moreforalaska.com. There's a place where you can donate there. There's
Great.
also contact information.
Good. It's a good website, by the way.
No, thanks. And we have a couple of statements of what I believe in and what I'll stand up for. And I'd really appreciate everybody's support and vote. And honestly, I will pledge to you that I will do my best when I go there. I'm not going to do anything other than represent you, Alaskans.
Well, it sure sounds like you're sincere. I think you're intelligent, articulate, and I'm proud of you for running.
Thank you.
And whether you win or lose, good luck. And I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. You've been very kind to take a whole hour out of your busy schedule. Shannon Moore's up next, 6 to 9 p.m. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. So we hope you stay tuned for Shannon, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great